Thanks a lot for joining us. I'm DeMarco Morgan. Firefighters in California are battling deadly wildfires across the state as the confirmed death toll continues to rise. In Northern California, the so-called Camp Fire in Butte County has killed at least 23 people and destroyed thousands of homes. It's the most destructive wildfire in California history and has all but wiped out the town of Paradise. More than 100,000 acres have burned. And in Southern California, firefighters are battling the deadly Woolsey fire near Los Angeles. That fire broke out Thursday. It has killed at least 2 people and forced more than 250,000 to evacuate. CBS reporter Greg Mills joins us now from Oak Park, California. And Greg, can you tell us what's going on and where are you right now?
We're in Oak Park. This is near Thousand Oaks and Westlake Village, Calabasas, an area that was really hit, DeMarco, on Thursday, hit very hard. In fact, a number of homes here in Oak Park were burned down on Thursday. And I'll step away and you can see this hillside. There's one homeowner here told me today, because you know what, I'm not worried anymore because everything around us has burned. So even though the winds have come back just in the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, he said, I'm not concerned because how can it burn anymore? You know, you see what the devastation has done. And that, he said there were flames 100 feet tall on that ridgeline Thursday when they were first told to evacuate in this neighborhood in Oak Park. And then this one house, I don't know if you can see it real well, but right over here, it burned Thursday when it came over that ridge. It's the only house that they couldn't save here, firefighters couldn't save. And then it sparked again, reignited overnight, and just destroyed the house. The homeowners were shocked. They came by about 2 hours ago, knowing it was in bad shape from Thursday night. They weren't aware it reignited overnight, and they came back to retrieve some stuff, and there was hardly anything to retrieve. I think we can pan over and show you, and that it's just to the left over here, and that's all they have, some golf clubs and some charred cups and plates and things like that. But we're in Oak Park, area hard hit, but again, the winds are coming back, which has to really alarm homeowners across Southern California, also really alarm firefighters too. And these firefighters, DeMarco, have been working so hard. And you know, when you talked about the Northern California fires, the fire crew that's here right now is from Mill Valley, and they were telling me that first of all, they've been up for more than 24 hours. Secondly, they thought they'd be assigned to the fires up in Northern California. We're surprised to come down here, but have been working now nonstop for over 24 hours. So it's been very, very difficult. And the last thing we want to see is this wind. DeMarco, yesterday was calm. We were all so thrilled because Saturday morning came and the winds were calm and things settled down for the most part. We knew these were coming back, and yeah, they started back about half an hour ago.
But we are so grateful for those firefighters who have been out there just working day in, like you said, nonstop, 24 hours a day just to keep the people there safe. Greg, we mentioned 250,000 people have evacuated their homes. Where are they going?
Well, DeMarco, generally you go to designated places, of course, and those designated places tend to be schools. And the Red Cross will be there, and they do a phenomenal job. And those places have been packed, especially Thursday. But I can give you an example. You hear about the evacuations. This area has been evacuated a couple times. Thursday night, about 9 o'clock, when they saw the huge flames coming up, they got knocks on the door from the deputy sheriffs, get out. And people did heed that warning because the fire was coming down from that hillside, and it did ignite the fire in this one house. But people were allowed to come back. Now, you talk, so it's kind of a fluid number, evacuees. At 2 o'clock this morning, again, sheriff's deputies came knocking on all these doors saying, you got to get out because this fire had reignited. So the numbers fluctuate tremendously, but they tend to go, frankly, when I've covered fires, I've been here 15 years, they tend to go to friends, family first. But this time, it came on so strong, so quickly, a lot of people did go to the evacuation centers, and they just packed those places, and the Red Cross does a great job. They have food, water, and there's bathrooms there and everything else you might need, so that's good. But that is where they tend to go to, is local schools, which are opened up by the Red Cross.
All right, Greg, you're doing an incredible job reporting and keeping us updated on this devastating story here. Again, Greg Mills of our KCBS there in Los Angeles. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, DeMarco.
Well, CBS News contributing meteorologist Jeff Berardelli joins me now on set. And what are the conditions looking like now? We've been watching this, and it's just so hard to sort of stay along with it, because at one point you're watching the forecast and the winds are not working in the favor. So what's the latest now?
Yeah, that's the big problem. It's the winds. I mean, overnight in Central California, winds were gusting 30 to around 60 miles an hour or so. We get these these winds that come from the east, they come from the mountains, and when they go down the mountain, just like an accelerating ball, if you were to drop a ball on top of the mountain, the winds accelerate as they come down into the canyons and the valleys, and you see those wind gusts that are tropical storm force wind gusts. The good news in Central California is actually the wind gusts will be coming down later today, so that's some good news. However, Southern California, things are getting more complicated. The wind gusts are actually going to be increasing. In fact, we think we could see some hurricane-force wind gusts in Southern California. High wind warning. In fact, most folks will see 40 to 60 mile-an-hour wind gusts, but it wouldn't be out of the question to have a 70-plus mile-an-hour wind gust in Southern California today, and we don't think the winds are going to come down through Tuesday. Wednesday, things will start to get better. So you combine the wind with low relative humidity, very dry ground, and it's a recipe for disaster. It's very hard for these firefighters to track and fight these fires.
Yeah, with hurricane force winds there. Shouldn't fire season be ending by now? What's causing it to sort of prolong and stick around?
It should be, because in October we tend to start to see a little bit of rain. Not much rain, but a little rain in Central California. So in Sacramento, for instance, by now we should have around 1.5 to 2 inches of rain so far for the fall. But we've seen basically zero across most of California. We've seen little or no rain at all. Now, that makes it worse, especially at the end of fire season, because by the end of fire season, everything's already a tinderbox. So you need the rain to start on time when wet season begins to transition. Well, we're about a month or so, if not more, behind getting any rainfall. And so at the end of season, with a lack of rain, it makes conditions that much worse. And so what we're seeing here is once someone lights a fire by mistake or however it happens, it spreads really fast because the ground is so dry and the winds are so strong.
And I know you've gotten this question a trillion times in your career, especially with paying attention to this story right here. How much of a role has climate change played?
Well, it's a big role. So to everyday people, you know, the changes may seem subtle, but the impacts are significant and substantial. So a couple of things are happening here. As you can see by looking at this graph, air temperatures have risen, and the number of large fires have tripled since the 1970s. 4 of the biggest 5 fires in California history have happened in the past 6 years, and the fire season now is around 3 to 4 months longer than it was back in the 1970s. It's basically almost all year round. It's because temperatures are warmer. That increases the evaporation, so the ground gets drier. Also, the rain is less predictable. We see more extremes in climate change, so we have perhaps wetter periods, but a lot more dry periods and a longer time span where you don't have that rainfall. Combine that with more evaporation, warmer temperatures, and the important part, less snowpack. There's a lot less snowpack in the western part of the United States. Because of that, it melts faster. And if it melts faster, there's less rain available, or less water available, if you will, during the summertime and into the fall. That increases the length of fire season. So it's a lot of ingredients coming together. We can't ignore the human impact. The human impact is not the climate change impact necessarily. Of course, climate change is caused by the emissions of greenhouse gases in the environment, but what I'm talking about when I talk about the human impact is humans are encroaching on rural areas where they might not have been before. So with more people living closer to trees and forests, it does spark up more fires. But climate change is a huge impact. Again, to the everyday person, it appears like it's a very subtle change, if any change at all, but the impacts are substantial.
Wow. Any relief in sight? Any substantial amount of rain headed our way?
Unfortunately, not over the next 10 days or so. There's really little, if no rain in the forecast over the next 10 days. It's going to make it really tough to fight these fires. Beyond 10 days, maybe 12, 13 days, there's a chance, fingers are crossed, that a storm may move into California. But again, our predictability is not very good once you get past around 10 days or so. So it's up in the air, but at least over the next week and a half, unfortunately, they're not going to get much help.
Let's hope so. They need some relief there, Jeff.
Absolutely.